All righty. Well, grab your Bible, Ephesians chapter 5. We'll be there in just a second. I have a few things that I need to share with you before I get there. Number one, three quick things. Parents, today's message is what I would call PG-13 light. So if you've got a middle schooler that you haven't had the talk with, you need to probably go ahead and put him in kids' church or volunteer or do something like that. But next week will definitely be PG-13. So make preparations for that, and then we'll get going. So at the end of this series, Thrive in the Home, actually it'll be the entirety of the end of the series. I can't believe it. I think it's Joy, what's the Sunday before camp? What date is that? Yeah, the 22nd. That'll be the last Sunday of this series, is June 22nd, and that is going to be a Q&A Sunday. And so we've never done this before, but guess what? You get to write the sermon, or you get to help write the sermon. And so what we're going to do is Joy and I are going to have somebody's going to proctor a conversation. They're going to have a conversation, double click on some stuff for us. And so you're going to ask the questions. All you got to do is text your questions to this particular number. We've already gotten several, but we need more, a lot more. So if you want to know if Adam had a third belly button, if you want to know if Adam had a belly button, or you want to have any other question you might want to ask, don't ask me stuff about dinosaurs in the Bible, though. I'll send you to Daryl. He can answer that for you. But anyway, they're not general questions, but questions with regard to thriving in the home specifically, but also anything that you've thought through about thriving this entire year in 2025. You've got some questions, you can ask those, and we'll do our best to help answer those. Then before we get going, I mentioned this book to you last week, and I don't get any kickback for this at all, but this, The Meaning of Marriage, Tim Keller and his wife, Kathy. Tim's in heaven now, but this book is incredible. And so if you are ever looking to get married, you are married, you've been married a long time, and you need to reignite your marriage, great book. You want to grab this on Amazon. And then here's another one that I picked up this week that's super helpful for the sermon this week and for next week as well. Is called The 4 Laws of Love. And this is written by Jimmy Evans. He's got a marriage ministry called XO, and him and his wife do this. And he's got countless years of counseling married couples. And so this is super, super, super practical and very, very helpful. And it's going to help us a lot with what I'm going to talk about in our third point and then next week as well. So you want to make sure, and you can grab a copy of that. Again, no kickbacks, but just super, super helpful for you. So we're going to be in Ephesians chapter 5 here in just a second. Hopefully you're already there, and we got one verse we're going to unpack today. Charles Spurgeon is known as like probably one of the greatest preachers ever, and he's preached to thousands of people, and he's written dozens of books, and he is also known for having a beard that would rival Colby Taylor's beard as well, known for his beard. And but what you might not know about Spurgeon was that one of the things that is really celebrated about him is he was a devoted husband. He was known, him and his wife Susanna, to have just this incredible marriage. And he's famous for saying this: I am brave enough to venture the opinion that there never lived a better woman or an affectionate wife, talking about his wife Susanna, which I just wrote on my notes, let's go Chuck. That is a great way to just brag on your wife, and he loved his wife. But here's the funny part about their story was that early in their marriage, Susanna really struggled with being married to the Prince of Preachers. And she was nervous about being married to this man. And so one of the things that is told about her was that she was so nervous about being married to Spurgeon that during his sermons, she would be overwhelmed with like this fear and nervousness that she would just tuck off in a curtain in the sanctuary, just hiding in the curtain till the sermon was over. Can you imagine just seeing your pastor's wife tucked off in the corner, just over there nervous, simply because of who she was married to and really the gift that he had had? What's interesting, though, is that despite their love for each other and their tremendous faith, the Spurgeons still had to work on their marriage. They didn't just arrive at an incredible marriage. They didn't arrive at a great relationship. They actually had to fight to work to have a good marriage. through struggles of sickness, ministry demands, extended times of like some of us travel for our jobs, but you didn't travel in the time and in the era which Spurgeon did, where there were no airplanes and it's by boat, and he would spend long stints away preaching and sharing the gospel and seeing people saved, and his wife was at home with their kids. What made their marriage work? What was the secret to a lifelong, strong marriage? Well, what if I were to tell you that the secret actually isn't that much of a secret? That the same thing that would make the Spurgeon's marriage thrive is the same thing that will make my marriage thrive, which is going to be the same thing that would make your future marriage thrive if you're single today. And it's the same thing that would make anybody's marriage thrive. What if I were to tell you that it's actually been tucked right there in your Bible the whole time? Clear, concise, direct, and I think it's super compelling. Paul has told us in Ephesians 5, part of the secret to thriving in your home is that husbands are to love their wives. Husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. How did Christ love the church? He gave himself up for the church. He would lay down his life. Jesus, nobody took his life. He gave it. He laid it down and surrendered his life selflessly for his bride. What's interesting to me about selfless love, is a lesson I'm learning even as current as this week, is that it's not selfless unless your bride feels it as selfless. You might think it's selfless, but it's only selfless if the bride receives it as selfless love. Husbands, we're to love our wives as Christ loved the church, and Christ gave himself up for the church, and we're to do the very same things. And then wives, we are to do what? Submit to our husband's leadership. In verse 32, Paul tells us this, or 33, he says, however, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let each wife see that she respects her husband. That's the emphasis of he's saying, you want to thrive, husbands love, and wives respect. But then he says, after all of that's been done, after all that's happened, it's going somewhere, it's moving into a direction. Where's it going? And it's the verse we're going to unpack today in Ephesians 5:31. Paul writes these words to the people of Ephesus. He says this, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Right there it is. Super clear, super concise, and very compelling. Paul gives three particular actions. The first one is to prioritize, to pursue, and then to practice. Prioritize, pursue, and practice. Can we practice that really quickly out loud, all of us? Those are the 3 points. Everybody say it. Prioritize, pursue, practice. One more time. We sounded like we didn't know what we were saying. Prioritize. That's where we're going today. Now let's now spend some time on each one of those. Number one, jot this down. Prioritize your new family. What Paul's going to lay before us is this. Now, if you're seeking to be married, this is really important. You're going to prioritize the new family that you just created. If you're in a marriage today, you're going to prioritize the new family that you have living under your roof. Now, the rubber meets the road really big right here in this particular point. I want you to look at it. He says, therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother. Paul is pulling his theology of marriage from the original statement that Moses made when he was literally talking about the very first marriage in Genesis 2:24. In Genesis 2:24, he's directly quoting that verse where it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother. Got the KJV, it says what? Do you know it? Cleave, leave and cleave. Anybody ever heard leave and cleave? Like 3 people? Okay, great. This is all going to be new information for the rest of you then. So he says you're going to leave your father and mother, you're going to cleave, you're going to hold fast to your wife, and then the two will become one flesh. It's a direct quote from Genesis 2:24. He's building his theology off of the original word of God in the very first book of the Bible on the first marriage. So I need to lay out a little bit of a timeline though for you to understand what Paul's really saying here. Essentially, when you're born, you are under this command of Colossians 3:20 that says, children, obey your parents. Parents, that is your life verse when you're raising your kids. This needs to be your life verse. So this is where it all starts. That's where you're at. That's what you're to do, is you're to obey your parents. Well, then, as you grow up and as you mature and as you head into adulthood, we don't know where necessarily that transition happens, but you move from obedience, in a sense, to then Ephesians 6:2, where it says to honor your father and your mother. So like a lot of the graduating seniors, there's that really interesting gray area of their life of maturity where they're moving from obedience to, yes, I'm still going to obey my parents, but it's moving towards honoring and respecting and being very, very grateful. It's a very different phase of their life. And then as you mature in through adulthood and you get married, then something changes again. And the command is Ephesians 5:31. Leave your father and your mother. That's why when you have a wedding ceremony and if I've done some of your ceremonies here, I'm about to do another one, and somebody goes to our church here in a few weeks, and I'm gonna ask that lady's dad, who gives this woman to be married to this man? What is her dad and mom gonna say? What are they gonna say? We do, right. What is that saying? It's saying, hey, they used to obey me, they're always gonna honor me, but something has changed. And now the covering that this daughter and this son was actually under is changing, and they're creating a new family unit. I want you to take a look at this other graph for you so you can see it, and this explains it pretty well. You've got your wife's extended family, and you got his extended family, and when you get married, what Paul is saying is you are now creating a new family unit. When you go back to Genesis 2:24, when he says the word leave, in Hebrew, that word means to cut the cord. I'm going to say that one more time. It means to cut the cord. And the emphasis is on that the man would cut the cord from his extended family, implicating as well that the wife, the girl, will cut the cord from her extended family as well. Because what has happened is that now, what used to be a priority is now not a priority, but it's not the primary priority. The primary priority, the moment that you're married, is now this new family. It's the new family that is the priority. And here's what's interesting to me, as I've had to live in Cincinnati for 7 years as a missionary, and I've tried to learn the culture that is Cincinnati. And what's interesting to me, and if you're not from here, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, is that Cincinnati is unique in that there are lots of deep family ties that are generational. Y'all never leave. You never leave. And you might go to college somewhere else, but like there's a magnetic pull like back to Cincinnati. Like my kids are now Cincinnatians. They're like, yeah, I'll go to college, but I think I'll come back. I think I'll come back here, which I'm not mad about. I think it's awesome. But there's this interesting gravitational pull to the culture that we have. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's an is thing. It's what it is. I've lived in some cities in our ministry career, like in the Dallas Metroplex, where you don't meet anybody from Dallas. When we lived in Phoenix, the joke is nobody's actually from Arizona. Everybody just moves there. And I met maybe 1 to 5 the entire time we were there that were actually from Tempe, where we lived. Everybody was from somewhere else. And here, when I come here and I meet you guys, it's like, oh, I've been here my entire life for 15 generations. Not a bad thing. But what happens practically is that then there's these deep ties to your extended family and deep loyalties. Now look at the graph. There is overlap. Absolutely overlap. But what I've seen in this city in particular, with Christians in particular, those of you sitting in these seats in particular, under the sound of my voice right now, is the tension that can sometimes bring into your home. Because there's so much pressure by your extended family and by our extended family. What Paul is saying now is that the new priority is the new family. Now hear me out. The moment that you get married, here's what happens. I'm not trying to rock your world, but I'm trying to rock your world. You didn't join another family. Your wife didn't join your new family and you didn't join hers. You made a new one. Biblically, you made a new one. When Paul says that you shall leave, husbands and wives will leave their fathers and mothers, he's not saying that you're going to disown them. He's not saying that. He's just saying that you're now new priority, leaving, new priority. You're prioritizing this new family, and you are making a brand new one. So how does all this work? Well, here's what I've learned is that if you don't prioritize your family, your new one, then your extended families will dominate your life. So let me just lay this out before you. How do I know, let's diagnose, if I am prioritizing my extended family over my new family? Here we go, I'm gonna give you 4 of them. Number 1, you default to your extended family over your new family in every situation. You just default to them. What do you mean? What I mean is they get to tell you where you're going on vacation. Am I touching a nerve? They get to tell you where you're celebrating your holidays. You default to your extended family and they drive the majority of your decisions. Why? Because you never cut the cord. So your in-laws dictate, your mother and father dictate every detail of your life, and you default to the extended family. Number 2, you overshare the new family business with the extended family. Did you know that not everything that happens in your home are your parents' business? Did you know that? It's not. Here's how this happens. Person A and person B in the home that are married have a conflict, and they argue. Person A then goes to person C. Person C is outside of the family and has a conversation. A and C have a conversation about B. B has no clue that A and C are having a conversation. A feels validated. C never says, go talk to A. C just says, oh, this feels amazing. I'm still needed. I'm still valued. Should A and B still have conversations with C and D and E and F? Sure they should. But they don't need to know everything going on in your life. Here's how this is gonna work in my home. Are you ready? This is as practical as it gets. As soon as I hand Sydney off as the first one, if she's the first one to be married, here's what's happening. I'm having a party. And if she calls me and says, well, my husband did this, I'm like, guess what my answer is gonna be? Click. Who gives this woman to be married to this man? Her mother and I do. If I said yes to this man, then that means I trust him to be the covering and the leader of that home as the head of that family. So guess what, honey? Sydney, talk to your husband. Talk to your husband about it. Have you prayed about it? Pray about it and talk to your husband. One of my sons does it. If he calls me, then we lost. Because I didn't teach him how to lead. I didn't teach him how to selflessly love. Do you know what this is called? Like in the psychological world, it's called triangulation. And it is a major source of your conflict in your home when you bring outsiders into the family business. By the way, I'm not advocating that you don't talk to your families with wise counsel, but you got to be very, very careful. And in the early years, I'm a huge fan of venturing out, being independent, cutting the cord hard, and then welcoming them back in after a few years. Big fan of that. Huge fan of this. Exact same thing Joy and I did. Number 3, your extended family is too involved into the details of your life. They're your financial net. They rescue you when it gets tight. They pay your mortgage. They pay your bills. They just voluntarily, constantly give you things and then expect stuff in return because they've gifted you those things. They're involved in your parenting. Yes, they raised you, but their responsibility isn't to raise your kids. That's your job. So don't default to mom. Don't default to dad. Don't default to the in-laws or aunts and uncles or grandmas and grandpas. Those kids were God's gift to you. And so you don't offload those on to your parents. They can help, but they're not the ones that God has entrusted to raise your kid. It's you. Some of your parents have a deep conviction about where you go to church or where you don't go to church. And so they're just all the time. They're involved in every little detail. And I could go on and on and on and on and on and on about all the little details that extended family chip into our lives. But just notice the overlap. How big is the overlap on that graph? Throw that back up there, Paul. I just don't think it's very big. And I know what I'm hopeful, I feel like I'm unloading just by your faces some new information to you. But if you want to thrive in your home, then you're going to have to learn how to prioritize your new family. The last thing, so default to the extended family, look at the last thing. I don't see any of these things as a problem. If you don't see any of these things as a problem, then your priorities are off. And it's time to reevaluate your priorities. So what do? Are you ready? Here's what you do. Everybody take a deep breath. Release it. Set some boundaries. It's time to set boundaries. It's time to start drawing some lines. Henry Cloud, if you don't know who he has a premier book called Boundaries. He's got boundaries for everything. Boundaries for teenagers, boundaries in marriages, boundaries for leaders. He's written boundaries for basically everybody. And he tells us this, that boundaries are like fences. And they keep out what you don't want and protect what you value. I'm not saying you don't want your extended family into your life. What I'm referencing is that they protect what you value. And what's your role? What are you supposed to value? Wives value husbands, husband value wives, husband and wives as a team value their children. That's your job. Value your home. So build a fence. Some of you are like, man, that feels kind of mean. That feels a little legalistic. It's not. Boundaries are biblical. Did you know that? Boundaries are biblical. Write that down in your notes. Boundaries are biblical. Do you have any proof? Thank you. Yes, I do. Thank you for asking that. Do you remember in the Garden of Eden when God made Adam and Eve and he put them in the Garden of Eden, what he gave them as their primary responsibility? To have rule and dominion over all of creation. And as they did this, then God starts to establish some rules. And do you remember that he said, listen, you're free to do basically whatever you want except one thing? And there was just one particular tree that he was just like, just don't mess with it. Because if you do and you cross that boundary, you're inviting chaos into your marriage, chaos into your relationships, chaos ultimately into the world. And as we know, their curiosity was piqued because when boundaries are drawn, we flirt with the lines, do we not? And then they crossed that boundary, and guess what happened? You're living with the fallout of that boundary right now, and it's called sin. So when we cross boundaries, we protect what we value, and God valued the unending, uninterrupted, intimate fellowship with his creation. They then didn't value that and crossed that line and regretted it for the rest of their lives. Boundaries are biblical, and when we cross them, though, I know what begins to happen is our flourishing doesn't happen. So if you want your family to thrive and flourish, then you're gonna have to start setting some boundaries. So how do I set boundaries to prioritize my new family? Here you go, I'm gonna give you 5 of them. Are you ready? This is like super practical. I should have sat down for this conversation, like one of those like lab conversations we've had, but here it is. Here we go. Number 1, identify the pressure points. Where is it most tense in your family? Is it Christmas? Where are you gonna spend that every year? Birthdays? Is it your parenting? What you do for a living? What is it? Like, you got to think about where it's most tense with regard to your extended family and say, okay, where are those pressure points, and start writing it down right now. Where are they? Identify them. Number 2, set the boundary. You got to draw the line together. This is the part where, gentlemen, we talked about this when we talked about husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And one of the ways that you can be a husband who loves and gives selflessly is being a provider, a provisionary leader. And one of the ways that you are provisionary is sitting down and having the conversation with your wife and saying, where are the pressure points in our home? Where's that where's that happening? And then what she gets to come alongside and do is you guys work together as a team. Remember, she's not a competitor, she's a complementer, she's a helper. Eve was a helper to Adam. And so you guys are gonna come together as a team and you're gonna lay out, hey, this is where I'm seeing some pressure. Under the Spirit, remember, Paul's already said that, be filled with the Spirit. So as you're walking in the Spirit and having this conversation, you're gonna be able to identify, where are these pressure points with my adult children or my young children, or where's all these things happening? What's happening in my life? You're gonna establish where the pressure points are, then you're gonna set the boundaries and you're gonna do it together. And then number 3, you're gonna communicate with clarity to your family. You're gonna schedule a meeting with your parents. Maybe it's your grandma. You're gonna schedule a meeting with your sister or your brother. wherever these pressure points are, and you're going to establish the boundary. Remember, though, that our job as believers is to speak the truth in love. And I know it's uncomfortable. Nobody is signing up for conflict in their family. But if you want to thrive in the new family that you're creating with your wife and with your husband, if you want that, then you're going to have to draw some boundaries where those lines are being crossed, and you're going to need to communicate with clarity at the expense of their comfort. Which brings me to the fourth thing: hold the line. Hold the line. The temptation will be to be, we're coming off too strong. The temptation will be, I need to back off a little bit because they look uncomfortable. Their discomfort is a sign of your clarity. Which then brings me to my fifth point: give it time. Acclimation will happen. Acclimation will happen. Give it time. Be patient. Continue to communicate with clarity. But these are how we establish boundaries within our family unit. Why would we do this? Because the health of the new family is that important. The health of your family that you've created is that important. So the secret to a thriving marriage is cutting the cord and prioritizing the new family. Number 2, here it is: pursue each other. Pursue each other. If you're with me, say amen. All right, thank you. But most of you right here are with me. All right, verse 31, he continues and says, and hold fast to his wife. Now, the idea isn't just like, the husbands are supposed to hold fast to the wife because she's running out the door. That's not what it is. It's not like that. It's that we are holding fast together. And so as we are leaving our extended families to create this new family, we're doing that together. And then we're also holding fast to one another together. We're leaving, in old school language, we're leaving together and we're cleaving together. And so we're pursuing each other. Well, what does that mean? Pursuing each other. What does that actually mean? Well, here's what it means. First, it means chasing. Pursuing is chasing. It's like when you were a little kid on the playground and the little girl that you thought was cute in the 3rd grade, what did you do? You played tag. And you chased after her and you got her first. And you had to make sure she chased you back. Chased you all the way to the tetherball pole. You guys remember the tetherball pole? I remember when I first went to this particular church in Oklahoma, and we had a pre-assembly to Sunday school. Anybody remember the pre-assemblies to Sunday school? Or maybe just Sunday school? It's like a pre-meeting before the meeting. And so our youth pastor gets up and makes a bunch of announcements, and he starts talking about Vacation Bible School. Well, in walks somebody, and she had blonde curly hair. And I was like, who is that little honey? And I was like, I got to get to know her. And I found out that she was going to be at Vacation Bible School helping. And so I was going to be at Vacation Bible School helping as well. And so the entire week was all about aligning all the details of my life to make sure that we intersected at Vacation Bible School so that we could bump into each other, which has been the story of the rest of our lives. I didn't even plan on that. Thank you. That's chasing. Like, do you remember doing everything that you could in your life to arrange the details so that you could bump into him or bump into her? Show up at work through the drive-thru where they were working. They work out at a gym. This is kind of stalker vibes a little bit too, but I don't mean creepy. I just mean lovingly chasing. I am loving. No, you're psycho. Stop. No, I'm kidding. I didn't think that one all the way through. Sorry about that. But ultimately, it's like I was thinking about, like cleaning out your car before the first date, picking out an outfit, guys and girls, thinking about it, getting a fresh haircut, making sure you smell good, plan the evening from the beginning to the end. That's chasing. That's what chasing is. So holding fast is chasing, but secondly, it's also cementing. That's what he says, that when you hold fast, it's the idea of cementing together. It's like glue. You're stuck together. You're literally cemented in every way that a person can be cemented to another one. We're talking physically, we're mentally, emotionally, socially, financially, in every way you've cemented, and now you're like, I can't separate from that person. Exactly. You're cemented together. You're stuck together in every way that a human relationship could be. But it's also continuing. Like, how long are you to pursue her? How long are you to pursue him? It's really easy until you die or Jesus comes back. That's it. You pursue each other until you see Jesus face to face. Then your pursuit changes and it's all about him for the rest of eternity. I mean, it's all about him anyway now. But you pursue them continually. It's chasing, it's cementing, and it's continuing, and it never stops. So how does it work? Well, can I tell you how it doesn't work first before we talk about how it does work? So when there's no pursuit, guess what you're gonna feel? A myriad of things. First, you're gonna feel emotional detachment. When there's no pursuit happening in your marriage, then you're gonna have emotional detachment. There's a lack of vulnerability and transparency in your relationship, which leads to connection. You have no connection. There's no emotional involvement. Have you ever had those conversations? Just be honest. Don't say it out loud. It's just empty. Just blank stare across the kitchen table. Just nothing there. It's emotional detachment. Number two, it's a lack of initiative. The relationship feels completely one-sided. The other person's just on a treadmill and you're actually trying to gain ground. Affection is gone, conversation is minimal. The spiritual connection and what you used to talk about with the Lord and what you used to pray about, like that's just gone. Like you don't even do that anymore. Physical withdrawal has happened. Intimacy becomes infrequent without mutual communicated understanding. We'll talk about that next week. Indifference sets in. The spouse just routinely dismisses your feelings or dismisses your needs and exhibits selfishness and apathy. It's just like, I'm done. I'm just gonna sit on the couch, watch King of Queens, drink coffee in the morning, and drink beer at night, and that's it. Just indifferent. No resolution. There's conflict like a landmine, like a minefield in front of you, and all of the unresolved conflict is just all out there, and you gotta tiptoe in your own home. That's exciting. Don't we want marriages like that? Those are great marriages when you just walk around and you just didn't know that you were gonna step on a landmine and then he blows up or then she blows up. That's an exciting marriage, I love that. It's totally God-honoring. No. Unresolved conflict just lives in your home. Nobody says, I'm sorry. There's a constant refusal to change. I'm not changing. I'm holding my ground. Yeah, I'm cemented, but I'm cemented into my opinion, not into my affection and pursuit of you. You know what happens when that happens? Bitterness starts to fester in your spirit. That's where that anger comes from in your home. It's because bitterness has been planted deep down in the heart. And you held on to every offense that she's ever done to you or every offense that he's ever done to you. And you're just looking for an opportunity to unload on them. Lastly, when there's no pursuit, priorities are off. Work is the priority. Hobbies with all of our friends, yeah, we'll go do it together, but there's no actual connection with us. We'll hold hands on the way in the door and on the way out to the door. I'll even open the door for you, but no connection. Because it's all about all of our other friends and what we're doing with them. The extended family, it's ministry, it's all these people. Everything else takes precedence over the marriage and our family and our home. And can I just say this? Every relationship at some point feels things like this bubble to the surface. Anybody that's been married any longer than 10 minutes can understand that. Married people, am I right? Like you can feel this stuff bubble up. It doesn't, now, what couples who want to thrive and flourish in their marriage, you know what they do? They scream, how do I fix this? Yeah, like I don't want to do this anymore. This stinks. I don't want to live in a season like this. Like, let's not talk about season. Like I can take like a minute. Like let's do a minute, but not a season, an extended season like this. I don't want to do this. How do we fix all of it? Can I give you 2 intentional steps of pursuit today? I don't got time for all of them, so let me just give you 2. First is this. Face-to-face. This is all about intimacy. You got to get face-to-face with your spouse. You have to plan quality one-on-one time with your spouse. A few months ago, Joy and I went to Jamaica. And my favorite part of that trip was closing down the beach. Now, how do you close down a public beach? Easy. Everybody else goes to party, and we sit there and close it out, hanging out. What were we doing? Quality, one-on-one conversation. We live in a house with 4 people, 2 teenage daughters, and a prepubescent young boy. There's a lot of yapping in our house and a lot of interruptions. I barely can breathe without an interruption in our house. Every time it's like, did you not see we were talking? Yeah, I'm cool. I want to go with my friends. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's just constant interruption. So when we were there, Do Not Disturb was on the entire time. And here's me and Joy sitting on those lounge chairs, asking raw, honest conversations. What do you want more of in our relationship? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better wife? Is there anything that I do that you absolutely hate? And some of you are like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I felt that too, trust me. I'm not saying I'm awesome at that. I'm just saying that it was needed. And the highlight of my trip is just sitting out there, us having just raw, honest conversations that connected us at an emotional level. When we moved to Arizona, I played golf with our senior pastor, and he was a parenting expert. He only raised 1 kid, so I don't know why he was a parenting expert. But he had been married a really long time. And he was like, do you go on dates with your wife? And I was like, I try. I have 4 little kids at home. And he's like, well, that's an excuse. I was like, what do you mean that's an excuse? I was like, man, I don't make any money. You should pay me more, and then I'll take her on more dates. And he just laughed, just like you did. And he was like, no, seriously, what do you need to prioritize date night? And I was like, yeah, I know. But I can't afford a babysitter and sushi or wherever else we want to go. And he's like, that's an excuse. If it's a priority, you'll make it happen. And then he gave me the nugget of all nuggets. So we have a large young adult ministry at our church. And we have a lot of those that we've hired on our team. You should go make friends with some of those people on our team, invest in them, and then ask them to watch your kids for free as a ministry to your family. And he said, I guarantee you they will do it. He was right. And we had 4 of them. That meant 1 date night every week, and they only had to watch our kids once a month. This is what pursuit is you got to go after it, and you got to make it happen. Now, I know what you're like, well, what do I do on these dates? You do whatever, you guys got to figure that out. But I remember thinking about this as I was studying. Ladies, can I give your husbands a little pointer? Can you just put your fingers in your ears for a second? Here it is. You don't have to, actually. Thank you for listening, though. Your men are emotional creatures, but they're also repressors at the same time. So they don't necessarily feel super comfortable unlocking all of their emotions, even if they're feelers, because it's super vulnerable. And so sometimes they need a little bit of help. So gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, go buy this book. It's called Date Your Wife. Date Your Wife. And it's by Justin Buzzard. And you're like, I don't know what to ask on honest and transparent conversations. I don't know how to get that ball rolling. Don't hate on your husband for taking a resource. Listen, what is that? What is a resource? Don't hate on your husband for going after a resource. And you're like, was that in that book Pastor Aaron told you about? Yes, it was, and it's okay, as long as it gets the ball rolling. Ladies, can I get an amen? Would that feel like, man, he's taking initiative? Would that feel like pursuit? Even if you read it in a book, ladies, would it feel like pursuit? Okay, like 5 of you. So what's wrong with the rest of you ladies? My husband's amazing. He does this all the time. No, he doesn't. We can all get better, okay? And so grab this book on Amazon. It's got some helpful stuff in here because I know that the emotional part sometimes is, I feel awkward unlocking that part of my heart. Just borrow his questions and then take that to the conversation and then watch the Lord move in your marriage and see if this face-to-face time does what I believe it will do, because you know what it'll do? It'll create emotional connection. And then it will create what every man wants, physical intimacy. And some of you rush to that way too quickly. Now, what I'm about to say, and what I'm going to say even next week, I need to say with a caveat. It almost feels like a dirty word when a pastor says sex from the pulpit. Why? Well, because the culture has scandalized that. The culture has made that feel like, you can't say that. Like, preachers can't talk like that. We have a whole book about it in the Bible. Did you know that? It's called Song of Solomon. Some of you are like writing that down right now. You're going to go check it out this afternoon. You should read chapter 4 and 5. It's amazing. But some of you are going to be like, what are the flock of goats? That's weird. And breasts are like fawns. What does that mean? I'll explain it next time, maybe. It's weird, I know. But it does matter. And so we reject the way that culture views this. We have to fundamentally reject it. And because, can I just say this? God made your body. You don't think he knows? He made it to perfectly fit together. God did that. And actually, it's amazing, and it's a gift. Physical intimacy is a gift, and let me just say this. It's how you become one flesh, but it's also how you maintain being one flesh in your marriage. And most of us want to land hard on physical intimacy first. The truth of the matter is that you need it all. You need all of it. You need intellectually stimulating conversation, heart-stimulating conversation, and physically stimulating marriage. You need it all. You can't just have one. And many couples emphasize sex over all these other things, and you think you're connected. Take that away, and I'll tell you if you're really connected. This is the differentiator it's the differentiator to every other human relationship you have on planet Earth. Did you know that? Hopefully you're not doing that with anybody else that's not your wife or not your husband. It's the single most differentiated. It's different than anything else. That's why you pursue her. That's why you only pursue him. You must pursue her and him. You must protect this moment, and you must prioritize it. Number 2, side by side. Face to face, you got to get face to face with each other, and you got to get side by side. This is all about friendship. I fundamentally believe after 20 plus years of being married, you ought to marry your best friend. You ought to marry your best friend. When Joy and I were first married, we moved into this apartment building, and it had this tennis court, and we were not, like, I love sports and all this stuff, but never played tennis. And I was like, we should go get some rackets and play tennis. So we went and got rackets. We cranked that bad boy out. I felt like we did it every night. And then we went across the street to Quiznos. Some of y'all don't even know what that's about, but that Tuscany sandwich was bomb. It was so good. I mean, we were just playing it all the time. And we just enjoyed connecting, having fun. And it wasn't just that. I mean, we've now, since then, again, 20 plus years, now there's all kinds of things that have changed in 20 plus years of being married. It was super just sporty and outdoors. We love being outdoors and stuff like that, but now we love to laugh together. We got probably the best Christmas gift we've ever been given by one of our kids this last year. We love to watch comedy. We like dry bar comedy and some, it takes to be a really good comic to be a clean comic. I hope you understand that. And so they bought, one of our daughters bought us Nate Bargatze tickets. It's coming this fall. I cannot wait to go to that because we love to laugh. Right after my dad passed away, we had a trip scheduled to Cleveland, and we needed to laugh desperately. And we had John Christ in Cleveland. And I mean, I laughed so hard that I cried and I had an ab workout. It was unbelievable. It was such an awesome thing. We love to laugh together in our home. We love to laugh, and we enjoy that. There are a lot of times, here's another one. Because I love her, I like to do things she likes to do. Gentlemen, that was free advice for you, that you should love the things that your wife likes to do. That doesn't mean you have to love it, but you have to like it because you love her, right? I'm not known to love musicals, but I apparently love them now, and I know that you think I'm soft. That's fine. It's totally fine. I don't like all musicals, but I like a lot of them. Greatest Showman is the greatest show in human history. It's just my opinion. But I like him because she likes him, and we enjoy him together. There are many times we're laying in bed at night and we're just talking, and then I'll crack some stupid joke or whatever, and then I'll start to feel the bed shaking because she's laughing, Joy's laughing, and then we just start laughing and talking about whatever we're talking about. And you know what it does? It triggers these weird, like not weird, but these memories of us when we were teenagers. And it just triggers these moments where we were laughing at little inside jokes and cruising the streets of Broken Arrow, getting into trouble and doing all that kind of stuff in Oklahoma. And it just takes me back to when we were just friends. And like we've built an entire marriage and a family, and even now a church family, off of a basis of that, hey, Joy is my best friend, and I would rather spend time with her than any other person on planet Earth. You can't have her, so don't say amen. I'll take you outside right now, John Bernard. I know you're amening, whatever. Yeah, you get the point. This is all of this is supported even by actual like secular science about marrying your best friend. Listen to this. Dr. Mark Travers, he's a psychologist. He said that in the end, the real magic of marrying your best friend lies in the quiet, everyday moments, the conversations that flow effortlessly, the inside jokes that only the two of you share, and the sense of being completely understood by someone who knows you better than anyone else. That's why you should marry your best friend. If you don't pursue her and you don't pursue him, here's the scary truth. Somebody else will. This is serious. Serious business. And I wouldn't love you if I didn't tell you, you better do it now. If you have not been doing it, you better get on this. Prioritize your new family. Because by the way, your wife wants you to prioritize this family. By the way, your husband wants you to prioritize this new family. By the way, each of you secretly, whether you never communicated or not, are like, gosh, I just wish they would pursue me. Each of you are saying that in the deep, all the way down to your pinky toe caverns of your body are saying, I just wish you would pursue me. So do it. Number 3, practice oneness. Look at the whole verse here. Let's put it all together. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Shall become, that's the emphasis here. They become one flesh. What in the world does that mean? Well, a couple of things. Number 1, it means you have a new identity. 2 used to be one. I'm going to give you a great little picture of how all this happens. So, I don't care, you pick. Somebody in your marriage is here. And your coffee. And some of you are like, that's the way God intended it, black. Sorry. Somebody else is cream. And when you got married, you consummated your marriage with sex, but also with the vows that you made. And you became one with the other. And as you continued to prioritize each other, and as you continued to pursue each other, and as you continued to practice oneness, 2 independent entities were married into one. Now you are one new drink. You can't separate the cream from the coffee ever again. This cream and this coffee are forever united until they are ingested. They are one. And this is why sex outside of marriage is so damaging. Paul will tell us, and we'll study next week, that every single time that you unite, this happens with that person. And you become, he uses these words, your members are used for unrighteousness, and he links you like, when you do this, it's like, why would you ever link yourself with a prostitute? That's his language. And when you do this, you are united with that person forever. And that's why if the relationship breaks, there's a tearing that happens, an emotional scarring that happens. And some of you might be like, well, it doesn't happen to me. I can have multiple partners. This is no big deal. You want to know why? Tim Keller in his book, The Meaning of Marriage, says, yeah, because you have calloused your heart. You have built in mechanisms in your mind and in your heart to reject the conviction, to reject the idea of like, yeah, this is fine. I need this. This is because it's about you. For the Christian, it's about the glory of God. Did you know this? That for the Christian, sex is worship? Because God created that for you, for your enjoyment. And to subdue the earth and to multiply. So you can't take the creamer out of the coffee anymore. This is one here. This is what the two shall become one flesh. This is what happens when you get married. This is what happens when you consummate your marriage with physical intimacy. You are a whole new drink and you can never, ever, ever, ever go back. And this is what Paul's saying. The two shall become one, linking each other together forever. If it couldn't get any deeper than that, it actually does get deeper. The second thing, what it means is that it reflects God's design. Paul says in the next verse, in verse 32, that this marriage is a mystery. And really, if you're to dig underneath even deeper, the language there, it's a mega mystery. It's so big. What's the mystery? Somewhere in the mind of God, he said, you want to know how I want to relate to people? I want to relate to people through family. And I'm going to show my love and I'm going to show my heart for the world through a son. The son is going to have a bride. And he's going to love that bride. He's going to prioritize that bride. He's going to pursue that bride. He's going to be one with that bride. And he's going to give his life for that bride. And Paul's saying, here's the mystery. Your marriage is a picture of that reality. Your marriage is a mirror of the gospel. Gentlemen, your marriage, you ought to look like Jesus to your wife. Wives, you ought to look like the bride, the church. It's a mystery that somehow all of these things are connected. So how does it all work? Well, you don't drift into oneness. It doesn't just happen. Oh, I just showed up and we were one. That's not true. It's a mystery. You got to pursue it. You got to practice it. Oneness is the target that you hit, listen to me, when you completely and totally give your whole self to your spouse in every single way. You don't arrive there. You fight for it. And you keep at it over and over and over and over again. Now, we're going to spend the entire time talking about this next week. So to be continued. So for now, though, the secret of a thriving marriage is prioritizing your new family. Some of you right now need to evaluate your loyalties. I'm not saying that you shouldn't spend time with your extended family, but you need to evaluate your loyalties. Where's your priorities lie? And if it doesn't lie with the home that you have, then you need to do some serious soul searching and start drawing some boundaries. It starts with prioritizing the new family. Secondly, it's pursuing each other intentionally. You know what I'd love to see this week? I'd love to hear about it. All the date nights that happened. It's like, man, this is the first one we've done intentionally for a long time. Yeah, I mean, we got some barbecue one time and we got wings one time, but we used to go with all of our friends who went bowling or did bowling or whatever, but no. Intentionally, you and your spouse, face to face, side by side, intentionally pursuing each other, and then practicing oneness over and over and over again until you see Jesus face to face. You want a thriving marriage? If your marriage is struggling, that's the secret sauce.